1981, Evil Dead. 5 friends travel to a cabin in the woods where they unknowingly release flesh-possessing demons. Written and directed by Sam Raimi. I've watched this so many times that I could have done it without watching it again, but I went ahead and did it anyways, just for the show. Did notice something I've never noticed before. In the beginning, Scott is driving the car and he's drinking, and it's a mason jar and it's clear liquid, so it's either water or moonshine.
It could be vodka or gin.
Yeah, I guess so. But it almost seemed crazier to me.
Everclear.
It almost seemed crazier to me that it would be
flat
just
Sprite.
Yeah, but imagine that it's just water. How crazy is that? Just fucking. Back in that time period, did they not have bottled water or something? I guess not. Maybe.
No.
No? Not at all?
No.
I'm going to have to look into that.
That's like a 90s thing.
I'm going to have to look into that.
Yeah.
How did people drink water in 1981?
Out of drinking fountains in the garden.
Just out of a mason jar. When you're traveling, like you going someplace, you go take water. What are you taking it in?
People didn't just take water back then.
People didn't used to travel with water. No, I'm
canteens. Don't you remember the 80s?
I don't remember ever traveling anywhere with. I had juice boxes, man.
You fucking living it up, man. You jumped in the car. You complained about not having anything to eat or drink until you got there. I'm hungry.
Sometimes.
And then your mom would turn around and I'll make your father turn this car around, and then Dad would scream at you from the back seat. He'd pull the car over, act like you're going to spend like all of that.
It was moonshine.
But I also, you think it was?
Probably.
I was gonna say because it almost seems straight psycho.
I bet it was actually water, and they're just wanting to make you think it's moonshine in the movie.
Could be.
Because I doubt they'd make a movie and have the person driving the car drink moonshine. That seems like a liability.
The only thing I think this movie is lacking is humor. I think there could be a little bit. Like Evil Dead 2 hits it perfectly, but we'll get to that one when it's time. I think that if they hadn't basically rebooted the whole series with Part 2, it would have been interesting to see what Part 2 would have been. They kind of rebooted the whole thing at the beginning of Part 2, right?
Yes, pretty much.
The reason they did that was because they didn't have enough money to pay for clips from the first film. Some sort of rights issue or whatever. But for its time, this had to be one of the bloodiest movies. It's got great gore, gruesome effects. The pencil in the ankle scene is fucking still gets me every time I see it. It rivals the intensity of that Achilles heel thing from Pet Sematary. That's pretty rough too. This is a horror classic. You have to. I think you have to watch all 3 of these, the originals. This is Evil Dead 2 is still my favorite, but this is a close second. 9 out of 10 is what I gave this. Just a little humor would have made it perfect.
There's a lot of things wrong about this movie, and there's also nothing wrong with this movie. I don't know if you guys have you ever seen the guy kneeling along the side of the path as they're driving back to the house?
No.
Yeah, like there's
like a lighting guy or something.
Yeah, there's like a technician or something over there. But I don't know what to say about it. It's a cabin in the woods, so it has me right from the get-go on the setting. This movie may have been what started my obsession with cabins in the woods and going off and renting cabins. You put a cabin in the woods and you're off to a good start to a horror movie. 80s practical effects. I don't know. It's just a feel-good movie to me. I think it's probably my favorite. It's out of the franchise. It's also the first one that I've seen. Well, I guess we'll talk about the others more. But I give it a 10. I don't know how you can not give it a 10 unless you're just going strictly like technical, because there's lots of things wrong with it, but also they did a lot of things great for the budget they had, and everything that Bruce Campbell doing all of the what's the word?
Acting.
No. Oh, like the shit being like stuntman stuff.
Oh,
Stunts?
Yeah, like he's
All the stunts.
Yeah, everything they just did everything themselves. I liked it. It's a 10.
Yeah, I'm not going to jump all over you, but I do disagree with one specific thing you said.
Oh, there is. Hold on. There's something I fucking hate about this movie, though. Who is it? Not Cheryl. I guess maybe it's what's his girlfriend's name? No, he kills her. Anyway, the one that sits there and laughs, like nonstop for like 5 minutes. That gets me every time. Yeah. Her laugh?
Yeah.
Oh, it drives me nuts.
It's perfect.
It drives me nuts. No, and it goes on way too long.
The one thing I'll disagree with you specifically on is I give it a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10. The second one is my favorite. This one's still a 10 out of 10. I disagree that this movie should have any humor in it. It shouldn't. This movie is, it's one of the reasons I love 1 and 2. 2 does kind of do a quick rework of part 1. Like if you watch part 1, Ash gets hit and goes black, and then 40 minutes into part 2, 30 minutes into part 2, he runs outside after getting through the night with his girlfriend, gets hit, and then he wakes up. Where he wakes up is where the 2 storyline technically starts. But the reason I love these 2 is because what Raimi does really well, and what Bruce Campbell does really well, and what the storyline for the movie does really well, you can do really awesome in 2 separate ways, and I'm really glad they did. Evil Dead 1 is a horror movie.
Yeah,
it is a straight.
There's more of 2 in Army of Darkness, but all 3 have a different feel to them.
Yeah, 1 is a straight horror movie.
Yeah.
It's not a horror comedy. It's not, and it's great. It is probably the best it's the best example of awesome low grade 80s horror I think there is, because the effects are awesome and some of them are bad because they didn't have money, and it adds to it. The bad effects add to the feel. The stuff you would say doesn't hold up gives it the feel that it has. It's the perfect example of making the most out of what little you have to work with. Everything works to be more than a sum of its parts. So, but like this one, if they would have stayed on this, Ash would never have been Ash. He wouldn't be the character people love, because he's not the Ash. If you know Ash but have never watched the first one, but you know Ash, this is not Ash in it. It's just a name, and Bruce Campbell playing a regular guy.
Yeah, when you think of Ash, you automatically go to either
Evil
2
Dead
or
2, Army of Darkness, Ash vs. Yeah, you go on. This isn't that. Ash is not the big part of the movie. The big part of the movie is the story and the horror. So I'm glad there's no comedy in this one, and they just have it as what it is.
Frank.
Oh, I like this movie. I give it a 9. But the only reason I give it a 9 was because...
And I agree with Frank. I think 2 is my favorite in the franchise. But I wouldn't change 1. It's a preference.
Sister Cheryl.
But and of course it's got the Lovecraft twinge to it, bringing in the Necronomicon and unknown horrors from beyond, and that whole feel is perfect mixed with cabin,
the setting,
in the woods,
the fog, the lighting, practical effects. Like you can just go on and on. The blood, the gore.
It's cheesy 80s. It's monster movie. It's Lovecraft unknown. And even though it's cheesy, it's not funny. The aesthetic of it and just the vibe is great. Everything in this movie is perfect. The only reason I would say I like 2 more is because 2 is more my genre. 2 is more my speed, but 1 is still perfect. And that's probably how everyone feels. If you like straight horror the most, Evil Dead is your favorite. If you like horror,
I think you just...
If you like
look
horror,
at us and our styles, it makes sense.
If you like horror camp, Evil Dead 2 is your favorite. But the whole trilogy is great. So 10 out of 10, fantastic.
Throw a steak on it.